Hello and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name's Brian. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, Soul Nation. I'm hopeful that you're as excited as I am for Cyberpunk 2077. It's the goal of this video is to help break down and answer all frequently asked questions that you might have about the game. This is going to be a longer video. It's got a lot of detail. Be sure that you can kind of check the playlist or the playhead if you want to jump to any specific section that this video is outlined in. But let's not waste your time. Let's get you ready for the world and the dark future. Now, first and foremost, if you guys are interested in more of the lore, I'm going to have a link and then the top link in the description for the kind of Cyberpunk playlist. You can go check out my lore videos on that as well. But first and foremost, I want to open up and begin with the system requirements to play this game. If you guys are not aware, there is a lot of ranges when it comes to the system requirements, and Cyberpunk has put out a detailed list on this. Now you can see this here on your screen itself. I'm going to break down the mystery of it. You're going to see minimum, recommended, high, ultra, RT minimum through RT ultra, RT being ray tracing. So if you do not have ray tracing or do not have the ability to do that, you can ignore the green section. And if you want to know if you can play this game, just check out the minimum and the ultra specs here. Now minimum, you're going to want a GTX or a Radeon 470 or GTX 780, 8 gigs of memory, 3 gigs of VRAM, at least 70 gigs of hard drive space. You want a Core i5 3570K or an AMD FX 3810, and then you obviously want to be running either Windows 7 64-bit or Windows 10 64-bit as well. This is going to be running at low at 1080p settings. So if you have that, you'll be able to play this game at those settings, all the way up to ultra, which is going to be that 4K settings. In this case, you want 16 gigs of system memory, 8 gigs of VRAM, still 70 gigs of memory. You want a i7 4790 or an AMD Ryzen 5 3600. Again, Windows 10 64-bit for ultra settings, RTX 2080 or RTX 3070, and then a Radeon RX 6800. Now, just note that if you hear and you're kind of new to PC gaming and you're like, Brian, why are you listing off two graphics cards? They're just showing off the two different types of graphics cards out there. You do not need both, and that would be unfortunate if you thought that was the case. From me. Anyway, so for ray tracing, you're going to want to start with an RTX 2060 and up. This is going to take you all the way to the 3080, which is the RT Ultra settings, starting at 6 gigs of VRAM, all the way up to 10 gigs and 16 gigs of memory across the board of the operating system, and at a minimum an i7 4790 all the way up to an i7 67 for the recommended Ultra settings. Same thing for AMD Ryzen 3200 all the way up to 3600 in this case. So hopefully this is going to give you some insight as to the system requirements, but let's dive into your frequently asked questions. There's a lot to talk about, and hopefully this gives you guys a lot to be excited about. So beyond PC specs, I think our number one question is going to be, does this game have a class system? Does it support classes? And this is a fluid class system for Cyberpunk, meaning you can kind of build out whatever you want. But also as a part of the pen and paper RPG, I'm going to kind of read off their different classes in the pen and paper, so you can kind of try to mentally build out one of these if you wish. But like I said, fluid class system, you can build out all action character, a stealthy character, a technologically advanced character. In effect, you play the way that you want to play. However, there are some classes as a part of the lore and the world of Cyberpunk. First, you got Rocker Boys, the rock and roll rebels who used performance and rhetoric to fight authority. You have Solos, these are assassins, bodyguards, killers, and soldiers for hire in a lawless new world. Netrunners are cybernetic master hackers of the post-net world and brain-burning secret soldiers. They also are techs, renegade mechanics, and doctors patching up meat and metal alike. You have medias, newsmen, media stars, and social influencers risking it all for the truth. Then you have lawmen, maximum law patrolling and mean streets of road warrior highways and beyond. Execs, corporate power brokers, and business raiders fighting to restore the rule of the megacorps. Fixers, deal makers, smugglers, organizations, and information brokers in the post-war streets of the future. And nomads, transportation experts, and ultimate road warriors. So a lot of this you can kind of see as it plays out into the overall character customization and life path. We'll cover that here in just a second. So in the game, are there resistances? And yes, there are actually 4 types of resistances that you can build out your character with. You're going to see physical resistances. This is going to impact your melee. Thermal resistances. This is temperature specific, such as heat and cold. Chemical resistances, toxic resistance, things like that, poisons, and then electrical resistance, shocks, and more. So can you customize your characters? And actually, yes, there's a deep character customization system in this game at the start, not just when you're creating your character, but as you play the game. Your style, your dress is very impactful, very influenced in the overall game. So note that actually can even impact what's called your cool stat. There's lots of different stats in this game. It's an RPG after all, so there's a lot to do in it. So let's go ahead and talk about life paths real quick. What are they and what do you have to choose from? So you're going to see the Nomad, the Street Kid, and the Corporate life path. Nomads, if you start off as this, players are going to find yourself actually in the outskirts of Night City. This is a zone called the Badlands. Now, Nomads are Outriders raiding for scrap and free to be who they want outside of the city. Now, you also are quite handy when it comes to vehicles and maintenance. You can also pick to be a Street Kid. This is a path that starts in El Coyote Kojo here in Haywood. After being brought up in the streets, this version of V is streetwise and aware of gangs, fixers, and undesirables of Night City. In other words, you're going to know how hard it is to survive on the streets. And then you also could pick from the Corporate path. This is going to be where players are going to find themselves in the center of the city. Being a corporate means that you'll do anything to win, even if that means screwing over the little guy, and you want to be one of the winners in the high-flying, shady world of Night City's corporations. A point of note that as a corpo, the HUD is where the stock market ticker is, but the purpose has not actually been revealed yet of this time. So what should you pick? All of these are going to be pretty cool to play, and you're probably going to, maybe if you have the time, play through all three. Players are going to really kind of have different situations and different skill sets, especially as the story unfolds to you, depending on what you pick. Honestly, I don't think there is a wrong choice, but it will help going into the game, knowing which way you want to start off the game first. So you might at this point want to know, can you actually complete the game by not following the main quest line? And CD Projekt Red says, yes, you can. This has been confirmed in different interviews. Can you use vehicles in this game? And yes, you'll actually have the ability to traverse around Night City in a various vehicles. You won't actually learn or have the ability to steal vehicles until later in the game. That's something you have to level up or upgrade to be able to have access to that. However, getting a vehicle is a kind of an important step in the overall story. So hopefully you'll enjoy how that gets revealed. Can you actually drive boats in this game? No, you may not. Can you customize the vehicles? No, not currently at launch, but that might come later down the road. Can the game be played in third person? No, it's a first person RPG. Is there a photo mode, a picture mode? Yes, there is, in fact, and they've shown that off in a couple of different scenarios. Is there an FOV slider? Yes, there is. Is there a day-night cycle? And yes, there is going to be a day-night cycle in the world, and it's going to last basically one day in the game. It's going to be about 3 hours of real-time play. Will there be a Cyberpunk DLC down the road? And yes, there is going to be DLC, basically what we've kind of seen with The Witcher in that line. In fact, if we talk about multiplayer, they talked about a multiplayer component down the road at some point being developed separately from this game. So the core game that you're going to be playing this week is going to be a single player RPG. Note that that's just how it is and how it will be. Later DLC and all that stuff has yet to be announced, but it has been said that it will be coming. So what systems is this game on? Well, you have consoles like Xbox, PlayStation, that's both the Xbox One and Xbox Series X, Series S, and the PlayStation 5, along with you have Stadia, you have PC, you have GeForce Now, and you can pick this up even on GOG, so in which that if you wanted to just purchase that way you can as well, and that will also be supported via GeForce Now. So if you don't have the PC requirements but you have the internet, you can stream the game via GeForce Now or Stadia in this case. Now, regarding the weapons and things that you'll find in this game to actually fight your enemies, you're going to have a couple different categories here. So there's different qualities of the weapons. You have ordinary, unusual, rare, epic, legendary, and iconic. From a projectiles weapon, these are your guns. You've got shotguns, machine guns, submachine guns, assault rifles, and handguns. Projectile weapons categories, you're going to have those in the categories of power weapons, conventional power weapons, which are more common and cheaper, smart weapons, these are auto-targeting weapons with various cooldowns, tech weapons, electromagnetic powered weapons with high velocity, and they can penetrate armor and cover objects. Beyond the rarity, beyond the type, and beyond the quality of the projectile, you also have different manufacturers. These are the big corpos that kind of are at war playing around with each other, so this plays into it. You also have various limits. You can actually carry up to 3 weapons and have additional cyberware that actually may be fitted into your character. So regarding melee weapons, you can actually expect to find blades, knives, bats, etc. You can augment your weapons by placing modifications into the mod slots themselves, and then even your clothing will play into your street cred and basically present your character and give you different options in the games. So there's a lot of also different types of cyberware in the game itself. So let's go ahead and talk about cyberware real quick in this regards. So what is it? It's a standard item that can actually be equipped to your character to upgrade your body through different augments. You got 3 different types. You have active, you have triggered, and you have passive. So active is essentially you're going to use it like a weapon. Triggered is going to activate when a certain condition is met, and passive is running automatically in the background of your body. So once it is installed, you're ready to go. Same kind of quality that we've seen with the weapons: ordinary, unusual, rare, epic, legendary, and iconic. And regarding slots, each piece of cyberware takes a minimum of 1 slot. Some of these items will actually take more than 1 slot, and you can see more about the game obviously when you jump in and kind of play around with it. So you have like arms, legs, different things like that, and they're gonna have different costs related to them. So for some known or some ideas of what these cybernetic augments might be: mantis blades, we've seen this in the trailer, large blades of coming out of your arms. Blood pump is actually going to improve your healing through your cardiovascular system. You have like micro rotors. This is improving your movement speed and precision via the nervous system, and so much more. I'll try to do a deeper dive into each and every one of these, but also include some links in the description if you guys want to go read up about individual upgrades and things like that. Now, where do you go to actually get these upgrades? Well, in the game, in the world, you're going to find different NPCs called Ripper Ducks. This is going to allow you to basically spend money to upgrade your character via these cybernetic upgrades, pushing yourself ever closer to what's called the edge. Essentially, an edge runner is somebody who's pushing the boundaries between machine and mankind in the world of Cyberpunk. So jumping kind of back all the way into the classes, net running is akin to hacking. You can actually hack various terminals and systems within the game itself. Note that the actual main internet is cut off from the world. That's going to be probably a big part of the story in Cyberpunk 2077. I'm personally excited to see what happens with that, and there's a whole reason why that's the case. But I want to talk to you guys a little bit about hacking before we wrap up this video, namely because there's a couple of things that you want to know about. So in this case, memory regarding hacking. Hacking is not unlimited, and it actually requires a resource called memory, which is going to recharge after you use it to perform a various hack. Each type of hack requires a certain amount of memory as a resource, and that means that hacking is not unlimited, so you need to be kind of planning out your attack here. So for a breach, this is the removal of an access node, where a breach system is effectively a mini game, and the codes that you need to actually solve by the player. Now, if you're successful, you're going to reduce the cost of memory of subsequent hacks, and so these breach codes can actually become increasingly difficult over time. Now, your cyber deck is basically a handful of different hacks known as demons in this case. So a demon would be like overheating. Overheat a target cyberware, setting it on fire. You can short circuit them. You can override their cyberware overall. You can optics restart, basically rendering them blind for a temporary period of time. You can SOS signal them, emits a fake emergency signal causing the target to search an area. You can suicide them, target kills themselves or themselves in this case with their own weapon. And then you have weapon malfunction, target the weapon actually causes issues. So when you think about, again, the netrunner, these are some of the things that might be available to you in this regards. There are enemy netrunners, and they'll actually be able to hack you as a player, and they'll have similar perks to you as the player. So just be aware that you can also be hacked, so be on guard. Guys, Cyberpunk is already shaping up to be one of the biggest releases of 2020, and regardless of your experience with it, I hope that you have. So Cyberpunk 2077 is already shaping up to be the biggest release of 2020. I hope that you go hands-on with it and you have an incredible time. If you guys have any questions about the game, anything I can help clear up, anything from the lore, just let me know in the comments below, and that way I can make sure I can get a video out to you guys on the subject itself. But for Ginger Prime, my name is Brian. Thanks for being here. Hopefully you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.